In Terraria, farming materials and gold is our bread and butter to progress. Naturally, for a sandbox game as complex as Terraria, the community has come up with a plethora of different farms to make this process as comfortable as possible. Whether mobs, herbs, blocks or materials, at this point there's a farm for everything. So let's take a look at the best, most popular and most efficient farms and rate them on a tier list. We start with a certified classic and perhaps the most popular AFK farm in all of Terraria, the Mob Grinder. This farm has been an absolute staple in the community forever. You can build it the second you find enough iron or lead to craft a single bucket. That one bucket of lava is all it takes to melt any mob that doesn't walk or shoot through walls. It works in any biome, requires zero boss progression and can be built in minutes. We can upgrade them at any time or sub the lava with traps and engineering to farm all kind of mobs. Everything to get it going is a single lava bucket. Other endgame designs might be more complex, but the pure simplicity and effortless AFK capability are exactly what makes this a legendary S-tier farm. Very deserved. Heading from an effortlessly built mob grinder to a farm that requires serious effort to set up. Let's talk about fishing farms. For the entire game, a good fishing farm is incredibly useful and above all, comfortable. Having every single biome and fishing spot right next to each other, allowing you to switch environments with a single step is an absolute dream for everyone and to please the angler's desire for 200 fish. But despite how incredibly useful it is, we have to talk about the factor of time. And this takes a lot of time. Farming the blocks, measuring the zones, bombing the space and building this massive structure takes ages compared to the mob grinder. A multi-biome fishing farm is easily one of the most time-consuming projects you can undertake in Terraria, and we have to factor that into its rank. Generally speaking, the sheer utility makes it top tier, no question, if not outright S tier material. But because the grind to build it is so brutal, it gets a -1, landing it squarely in a high A tier. Nonetheless, if you completely ignore the clock, it is easily one of the most powerful and useful farms out there. Heading from fish to water and other liquids. Liquid duplication glitches and mechanics are as old as Terraria itself. While all the methods have been patched, the current community favorite uses inlet and outlet pumps wired together to split the liquid into an infinite supply. It's not blazing fast, but it's fully automated. These machines can be used to generate endless obsidian, honey blocks or shimmer blocks. A combined water and lava setup gives you an infinite amount of blocks to build with or sell, and you can easily tuck it right into your main base. You do need to rescue the mechanic to buy the pumps and timers, but once you have her, these machines are set up fairly fast and simple. I use them all the time, but if I'm real honest, I don't use them as much as I think I would once I have set them up. I think we all agree when I say it's a nice to have farm. High B tier. Gemstones in Terraria sell for a pretty penny, and ever since they can grow from gem corns, underground gemstone farms have spiked in popularity. But honestly, I'm a bit mixed here. On one hand, a single gemstone and acorn is a tiny investment. On the other hand, to actually make this profitable, you need to clear out a massive amount of underground space, which takes a considerable amount of time. Plus, you have to manually chop and replant them every single time. So let's be real, half the time you build a gemstone farm, you forget to harvest it anyway. The only true payout is if you plan on building extensively with gemstone blocks or walls. I still build them, but frankly never harvest them because I'm too lazy or simply forget about them. It has its purpose, but your time is spent better elsewhere. A nice to have nonetheless, so a solid C tier. Now, compared to the gemstone farm, the next farm is fully automated. The glowing mushroom farm is another fairly simple, fully automated setup that can run forever at the flick of a switch. It's incredibly satisfying to watch the actuators drop a massive harvest instantly. While the glowing mushroom farm is the most iconic actuated farm, this principle works for all kinds of shrooms, like crimson, corruption or normal shrooms. In early game, mushrooms act like wood for crafting furniture, stations and decorations. With recent updates, Relogic even gave us a single early game weapon to craft with them. However, they don't sell for much and their utility drops off fast. While they can be used to upgrade lesser healing potions, the merchant sells regular healing potions in hard mode anyway. Unless you love the blue aesthetic, this farm quickly becomes a glorified base decoration, let's be honest. C tier. Next up, Meteorite and Fallen Stars. With the release of 1.4.5, meteor rains can now fall directly from the sky, and naturally, the community immediately found a way to farm it. This setup uses the exact same principle as a classic fallen star farm, stretching conveyor belts across the entire sky to automatically gather the space debris. But is spanning the entire map with blocks actually worth such low payoff? Normally, I would tell you this is a massive waste of your time, but let's talk about Skyblock. In a Skyblock world where resources are scarce and farms are everything, this mechanic can become somewhat useful. Even so, by the time you actually need a high volume of these materials in Skyblock, you have likely expanded your base enough to just gather them manually anyway. It definitely has its uses, but I just can't bring myself to rank it high. It's sitting squarely in a C tier. Moving on to basic materials, sand. The Antlion Sand Farm is a technical marvel of engineering, utilizing rocket science, a high IQ, and the sheer power of will to create something that is almost completely useless. No, I'm not saying sand is useless, I'm saying that placing a million teleporters, wires, and logic gates just to farm sand in Terraria is highly arguable in terms of efficiency. But as some of you may have already noticed, this thing is not about sand, it's about gold, or let's say platinum, and at this it is highly efficient. So if you're planning to outsource your farming to new worlds that are exclusively for farming, a thing like this can indeed be useful. However, you have to learn a lot about Terraria's mechanics, and it still takes a lot of time. If you ever need that much gold, I don't know. I absolutely love stuff like this, and it perfectly shows just how complex Terraria can be beneath the surface. It's stuff like this that keeps me going for thousands of hours. However, we have to consider time and efficiency here. From a casual playthrough perspective, I have to look at this farm and ask, why? Why would you do this in a normal playthrough? It's more of a personal achievement, would you agree with me? The next farm is one of my favorites. The Gnome farm is pure entertainment, but beyond the meme factor, it's actually profitable, allowing you to easily farm and sell garden gnomes for 1 gold a pop. Once you have set up the farm on a living tree, it's almost entirely AFK. Occasionally, you just need to run through and pick up the gnomes that turn to stone in the sunlight. Unlike the Gemstone farm, there's zero replanting required. Granted, gnomes don't have much functional purpose beyond boosting your luck stat, and since a luck buff doesn't stack, you technically only need ever 1 gnome. But I have to give extra points here for the sheer absurdity and entertainment those gnomes naturally share. And to show some respect to our lovely gnomes, B tier. In Terraria, there's not just mobs and blocks, but also bosses. And of course, there are farms for them. Boss farms are arguably one of the most complex types to master, and honestly a massive time sink. While they might look different on the outside, they all share the same DNA. The principle is simple. Every boss in the game follows a specific set of rules, a pattern. That pattern dictates their movement, and by understanding that movement, you can place teleporters in a precise sequence to stay untouchable while traps do the dirty work. These farms are almost fully AFK once they are running. But here's the catch. Most require a manual kickstart, whether that is using a spawn item or interacting with a station first, just like for the golem, which you usually can't automate, with a few rare exceptions like Plantera's bulbs, which you can trigger with a timer, traps or actuator. But let's be real, these projects require a massive amount of space and time, and by the time you finished building one, you probably could have manually farmed that boss enough times to last a lifetime. These farms aren't about efficiency, they are about the engineering, they are about proving what's possible, like a puzzle to solve, and by far one of the most satisfying farm types out there. Personally, I love the engineering side of this game, but if you're asking me to rate them based on time versus reward, I have to take that into consideration. I love building them, and the satisfaction of seeing them run is unmatched, but for the average player, the time spent is just hard to justify. I think, or I hope, most of you will agree, otherwise just butcher me in the comments, low C tier for the sheer amount of time it needs to farm the traps and to build the farm. But it doesn't need to be complicated all the time. The next farm proves sometimes it's about the simple things in life. Wood is always nice to have, and wood is the easiest material to farm. It's not exactly hard to find trees or farm a lot of wood, but the point of a tree farm is to farm all the different wood types in one place. Instead of teleporting around the map, it's all in one spot. It is easily built, can be placed in the sky where it doesn't bother you, and is self-sustaining with acorns. Sadly, acorns can't be placed automatically, so we have to do it by hand. But however, it's very useful for you if you plan to build a lot on your map. And even beside farming wood, they will drop free food for buffs, so even if you don't use the wood, you can tap and check them once every time you pass by. Simple, useful, and the buff food always has a purpose. High B tier. Next up on the list are statue farms. Statues are heavily restricted, completely dependent on luck, and have been nerfed so many times over the years that there's practically nothing left to strive for. Time for a quick history lesson. Back in the days, certain mob statues like the shark statue would gladly drop their respective materials when automated. But now, they won't drop a single item if they are killed by a trap or a puddle of lava. This means these farms can no longer be fully automated. You are forced to kill the mobs by hand. Sure, you could weigh down your mouse button or use a basic auto-clicker macro, but that kind of gameplay just doesn't stick with me. So to everyone who is still stuck in the past, wake up, these setups simply aren't useful anymore, and a normal mob grinder will suit your needs 10 times better. Why? Another farm that requires a massive amount of manual layout work is the Chlorophyte farm. Now here's the thing about Chlorophyte farms and why I'm absolutely not a friend of them. Unlike the Crimson or Corruption, which spread aggressively forever, Chlorophyte has a strict hard-coded limit and there's nothing you can do about it. Knowledge time. With each tick, the game scans your blocks, let's call it a density check. And if there's a single or too much of it in a 70 by 70 area, the engine will completely freeze the Chlorophyte spread. Many people building these things simply aren't aware of that and think it will spread forever, just like the Crimson, wasting their time on oversized farms. This means these farms don't just slow down, at some point they stop working entirely. They also don't have any cool wiring, trap engineering, or anything that actually brings satisfaction to watch. So let's be completely honest, if you pop a single Spelunker potion and mine the underground jungle for 10 minutes, you are basically set with Chlorophyte for a lifetime. Why? A farm that is absolutely not useless is the herb farm. The herb farm is not just a creative builder's favorite to build and decorate, but also one of the favorites of tryhards and hardcore attempts. Or in short, herb farms are for everyone, as there are potions for everyone. Whether utility or combat, potions have you covered for every situation, and thus building herb farms is very recommended. No need to grind the biomes and hope to find a random blink route in the middle of nowhere any longer. Instead, all herbs are in one place and easily attached to any base. Setting them up once you have the dryad costs you almost nothing, and building a row of planter is quickly done. Very useful, S tier. And that covers the core types of farms in Terraria. Of course, there are countless variations that might look different on the surface but function the same deep down. One of the best things about this game is that it gives us almost infinite ways to approach these builds. Some more efficient than others, but all of them are satisfying and rewarding. And even after all these years, players are still discovering brand new farm mechanics that keep the meta fresh. Now I'm curious, what is your favorite all-time farm in Terraria? My favorite farms are usually the least efficient farms, but in my opinion the satisfaction they bring makes up for it. If there's a specialized farm I missed or a secret tag you have been gatekeeping, let me know in the comments. And if you want to see more F4 Terraria deep dives, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out. This has been Water's Box, and I see you in the next one.